Okay, let's dive in. We've got some really interesting source material today, focusing on a technique called the shadowing method for learning English speaking.
That's right.
So our goal here is to really unpack your sources on this.
Hmm.
We want to see how they define shadowing, why they say it works so well,
Hmm.
and basically lay out the practical steps they suggest. We're sticking just to what you've provided us.
Absolutely. Just the source material.
Your info really frames this as like a powerful way to get more fluent, sound more natural. So, yeah, let's get started. What do the sources say shadowing is exactly?
Well, right off the bat, the source gives a pretty clear picture. It's not just, repeating later. It's listening
Okay.
to a native speaker and then repeating immediately. It actually says just like an echo.
In echo. Okay. So, instant repetition.
Yeah, and it's more than just the words themselves. The source is quite specific here. You need to try and match the tone,
Ah,
the speed, and this is important, the emotion of the person speaking.
emotion too. Interesting.
Definitely. And this immediate mimicry of the whole package, words, tone, speed, emotion, that's presented as the core idea.
Okay, so why that? Why the immediate echo? What's the thinking there in your source?
Well, the source puts it like this. It actively trains your brain and your mouth to work together,
Right.
which it claims is how native speakers do it. They process and speak more automatically.
Ah, okay. So it's bypassing that sort of conscious translation step, going
Yes.
straight from hearing to speaking, mimicking the sound and the feel.
Exactly. That seems to be the core mechanism described.
Got it. So then why does your source argue this method is so effective?
Yeah.
What are the specific benefits it points to?
It lists quite a few things like improving your pronunciation, obviously,
Makes sense.
building overall fluency, helping you understand those natural speaking patterns.
You mean like rhythm and intonation?
Yeah, exactly. The flow, the connections between words that native speakers use. And here's something that really jumped out from the material.
What's the thing?
It claims shadowing can help reduce your mother tongue accent.
Wow, okay. Accent reduction. That's a pretty bold claim.
It is.
How does the source suggest it does that? Is it just better pronunciation, or is it tied back to that brain-mouth training thing?
I think it's deeply connected to that. The source really hammers home that this is active practice.
Right, not passive.
Exactly. You're not just listening, you're physically, mentally doing it in real time, engaging your mouth, your ears, your brain all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And the source suggests that active engagement leads to those specific benefits, including the potential impact on accent. The end goal, as it's framed, is becoming a more confident, natural-sounding English speaker.
Okay, that connects the dots. Active practice trains the system, leading to fluency, natural patterns, maybe even tweaking the accent. So let's get practical. How does your source say you should actually do this? What are the steps?
It's broken down very simply. 4 steps, it says. First, you listen. Just listen to a short sentence or phrase.
Sure.
Step 2, you either pause the audio and then repeat. Or, and this is for more advanced learners, you try to speak along with the audio without pausing. Kind of like simultaneous translation, but just repeating.
Ah, so it scales up. Nice. What's next?
Third, you repeat it. And this is the key part, focusing on matching the rhythm, the feeling, the intonation of the original.
But not just the words.
Exactly. And fourth, which seems really important for improvement, you record yourself.
Ooh, okay. Why?
So you can compare, listen back to your recording, then listen to the original again, see where the differences are.
That comparison. Yeah, I can see how that would be helpful. Maybe a bit daunting, though. Does the source mention anything about, like, making mistakes?
It does, and it's a really important point they make. It says, quote, "Don't worry if you make mistakes, just keep going."
Okay, that's reassuring.
Yeah, it stresses that the goal isn't perfection straight away. It's about achieving a natural flow.
Natural flow, not perfection. I like that. Makes it feel less pressured.
Definitely.
So your source provides these steps, but it also gives examples, right? Like different ways to practice this.
Yes, absolutely. It lays out a few different practice scenarios to make it more concrete.
Good. What are they?
It starts with a warm-up, using really short, simple sentences like, hi, how are you doing today?
Basic stuff.
Very basic. And the instruction is repeat it maybe 2-3 times. First slowly, then a bit faster.
Okay.
And again, the focus is matching the emotion, the tone, and it uses this phrase I liked, feeling the language.
Feeling the language. That's evocative. Moves beyond just mimicking sounds.
Right. It's about embodying it somehow.
So after the warm-up.
Then it moves into practicing daily life situations, little conversational snippets.
Like what?
The example given is ordering coffee. You hear, "Can I get a cup of coffee, please?" And the reply, "Coming right up." You practice that little exchange. Maybe you repeat it, trying to say it faster the second time to nail the flow.
Okay, so real-world quick interactions makes sense. Then you mentioned emotion earlier.
Yeah.
Does it have specific practice for that?
It does. There's a whole section on practicing specifically with emotion. This ties right back to that feeling the language idea.
How does that work?
Well, it emphasizes actually copying how the speaker feels. It gives concrete examples,
Such as?
like mimicking a happy tone with, "I got the job," or sounding surprised, "Really, that's amazing," or practicing a calm voice, "Let's take a deep breath," or getting excited, "I can't wait."
So you're practicing the emotional delivery itself.
Exactly. And the source explains why. It says this is what makes you sound real and expressive, not like a robot just writing lines.
Yeah, that's huge. Language is so much about that emotional layer. Okay, so warm-ups, daily life, emotion. What about longer conversations?
Good question. The final practice type mentioned is conversation shadowing. It calls it story style.
Story style.
Yeah, meaning you work with a longer chunk of dialogue, back and forth. The example used is a conversation starting with "long time no see."
Okay, a proper exchange.
Right. And here, the goal is to match the overall flow and rhythm of the whole interaction, following the turns, the pauses, the pace, how the original speakers interact.
Got it. So it builds up nicely. Short phrases, real snippets, adding emotion, then full conversation flow. It feels, well, quite comprehensive as laid out in your source.
It does seem quite structured.
And does it give any, general tips for making this method stick
Yeah.
for success?
Yes, it wraps up with some very practical advice. 4 main tips.
Okay.
First, practice in short bursts. It recommends just 10-15 minutes a day.
Oh, that's manageable.
Yeah, consistency over marathon sessions. Second, use content you actually enjoy.
Makes sense. Less of a chore.
Exactly. It mentions YouTube, movies, podcasts, things you'd likely listen to anyway.
Yeah.
Makes it more sustainable.
Good point. What else?
Third, remember that recording step? It suggests doing that once a week. Not every time, but regularly, just to track your progress.
Ah, like a weekly check-in.
Precisely. And the last tip is simple, but probably the most important. Don't give up.
The classic advice.
Well, yeah. The source explicitly notes that fluency takes time and effort. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Short sessions, fun content, track progress, keep going. Seems like solid advice. For any learning, really, but especially for something skill-based like this.
I agree. And if you look at the bigger picture the source is painting,
Mm-hmm.
these tips all support the ultimate claim it makes.
Yeah.
That doing this consistently, actively, it actually rewires your brain to speak automatically like a native.
Rewires your brain. That's a powerful image.
It is. The idea is that the short, consistent practice, using stuff you like, plus that feedback from recording yourself, that's the pathway it lays out to get to that more automatic, native-like speaking.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. Based purely on your source material, the shadowing method is presented as this very active technique. It's about immediate echo-like repetition,
Right.
focusing hard on matching not just the words, but the tone, the speed, the emotion,
The whole package.
all with the goal of training your brain and mouth to work together for better fluency and a more natural sound. And it gives clear steps, different ways to practice, including that emotion focus, and solid tips to keep you going.
That sums it up well. It's presented as a very structured, very active way to practice the physicality and automaticity of speaking English, not just the theory.
Okay, so here's a final thought. Building on what your source says, it really emphasizes feeling the language and using content you enjoy, connecting emotion and interest to the practice.
Yes, definitely.
So thinking about that, how might really deliberately choosing content that connects with you emotionally, maybe stuff that makes you laugh or gets you excited, or even something serious you care about, how might that potentially amplify the rewiring effect your source mentions? Could leaning into that emotional connection make the process even more effective for you, the learner?